Welcome to KetoMealsAndRecipes.com. Today I'm going to show you how easy it is to make your own homemade fajita seasoning mix. I ask that you please watch to the end because I will explain why I'm not using chili powder in this recipe, because I've noticed that many online recipes do use chili powder. And please let me know which spice mixes you like to make from scratch. I also want to mention that you can scale up the quantities for this recipe to fill an entire spice jar. Personally, I do this because I use fajita seasoning quite often, and I don't want to make a fresh batch every single time. The macronutrient ratio for the fajita seasoning mix is 0.3 to 1, with 4.8 grams of total carbs, 1.8 grams of dietary fiber, resulting in 3 grams of net carbs per tablespoon, which equals 1 serving of 12 grams. As I mentioned, making your own homemade seasoning is very easy. It especially becomes much more practicable once you start accumulating your own basic spice collection, and the overall taste will absolutely be noticeably better. I think at that point you'll also realize that it's much less expensive to mix your own spices than to buy the pre-made ones in the grocery store. By making your own spice mixes, such as this fajita seasoning, you'll be sure that there are no additives or unwanted ingredients in the seasoning mix. Because I've noticed that my store-bought fajita seasoning, for example, has sugar in it. There's no need for sugar. The last reason I like to make my own homemade blends is because my homemade blends are based on really good ingredients and a recipe that I've taste tested many times and adjusted the flavor so that everyone in my family really liked it. Now, to make my fajita seasoning mix, I toss all the ingredients into a small bowl or container. As I mentioned, I don't use a pre-mixed chili powder, and I'll go into even more details a little bit later. Instead, I use ancho chili powder, which I really love the smell of and adds such a depth of flavor to the fajita seasoning. I also add chipotle powder, which also smells very nice, and cayenne pepper, which I would not advise you to smell very deeply. It'll make me sneeze. But this pepper as well adds a great deal of depth to the taste. The next thing I add is my very finely ground Himalayan salt, or you can use sea salt. And I also add smoked paprika because it gives an overall smoky taste to the seasoning. But if you prefer a sweeter taste, substitute smoked paprika with sweet paprika. Then add your ground cumin powder and the garlic powder. And lastly, I add dried oregano leaves. And after you've added all the ingredients, all you have to do is simply stir all these spices together to make a really nice homogeneous looking mixture. That's all there is. At this point, you either use up how much you've made or store your extra fajita seasoning in an airtight glass container. Now to go into detail as to why I don't use a store-bought chili powder. To start with, did you know that what's marketed as chili powder is actually a blend? I actually didn't know that until a couple years ago. I guess I just never bothered to look at the label and read the ingredient list. When I did read the label of my favorite brand, I was really surprised to see the ingredient list. For example, I really like Simply Organic products. I think overall they're an excellent company and good quality. However, their chili powder, for example, included organic rice concentrate when you purchase this product through a Canadian source, or silicon dioxide, an anti-caking agent, if you bought this product from a US source. And this is the same product, just two different countries. So the lesson is, read the label. And I found that since I customized my own fajita seasoning, I also wanted to be able to control all the spices so that the flavor I got would reflect exactly the spices that I added, and it wouldn't be dependent on the variety of chili powder and what they put in that, which of course would change the overall taste of the fajita seasoning. If you're wondering how much this recipe made, it made exactly 2 tablespoons of fajita seasoning, enough to coat 3 or 4 chicken breasts or a group of thighs, which I did in my chicken fajita recipe. The link for the written fajita seasoning recipe as well as the chicken fajita recipe will be posted in the description below, so go there and click on it. I hope that this video has been useful to you, and thank you very much for watching to the end. And please do come back when I post my next video. Until then, stay safe and healthy. Cheers!